1, 2, spaghetti shoe. Welcome back, Slayers, to a wonderful new episode of the Slayer podcast. I am always film guru Jake, joined by my wonderful co-host at Author Erie and my beautiful wife.
Hi, baby. I'm tired.
And I'm forcing you to do this.
I'm not forcing, but...
No, I drug you out of bed to talk about this exact non-topic here. It's for anyone listening, it's 4:30 in the morning. It's
Set the scene, Jake. Set the scene.
So we don't really have a topic for this episode, and I think
No.
that's okay because we haven't really just talked about ourselves before, and I feel like we're far enough into the podcast at this point to just kind of, I feel like there's still more that I want to do to establish ourselves, but that comes down the road. I feel like we've done what we need to kind of get the point, get the gist of what we're doing here across, right?
Yeah.
Now it's time to get to know us a little bit better, right?
That's true.
Aside from, what you already know of us being the film, and the photography, and then this, that, and the other thing, and then you being the writer, the fantasy nerd, the good old type stuff that way. So I really wanted to just talk about, hobbies and shows and, less so topic-based and more so top of mind.
Enlighten us, Jake.
Exactly.
Ooh, write that down.
Exactly.
That's a quote.
I don't have to. We're recording.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good.
Less topic-based, more
think,
top of mind.
Right now, I think it's only been a struggle to do this because what is there to talk about? I think we're all just trying to survive right now. And, me especially these last few months, I've been taking myself out of that survival mode and really trying to look up at the world around us. And it's a tiring experience because you kind of just get really disappointed and sad with the pain and torture that we inflict on ourselves. Making work our entire existence and, just never feel like you're living up to snuff to what other people, to the expectations other people hold over you. And I think it just gets hard to do things like this, but this is when we need them, especially, is when things are hard.
Now, I'm no therapist, but that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, I think. I think I really want to be more honest, I guess, about what I share of myself when we do things like this. And it's so funny, I just wrote a piece of this that's going on our Slayer blog at the pen, okay? But we might have good times together. We might share a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, might do really fun and creative things. But life is not all about the highs. You know what I mean? It's about the lows too. And I feel like that's when people need the most help and the most recognition is when they're at a low. And I want to have moments like that with Slayer where we go to be a creative is to suffer. But you don't want to suffer needlessly. You don't want to feel like you're suffering for no reason because you're never going to make it. So you might as well just conform now and save yourself the suffering. I feel like you can talk yourself out of being creative that way. And because our people are creatives, I really feel like those Slayers listening right now are people who are more artsy, are looking for an escape in the world. And I feel like if your own community is focused on toxic positivity, nothing is ever going wrong unless we're shaming someone else for what they did, I feel like we do ourselves a disservice because we're not talking about the full spectrum of humanity that we go through every day. And that's what I feel like I'm experiencing now, where I'm at that moment where I've had to give myself recognition that once I would have looked at my industry for, but they're not giving it to you. So you have to get it from yourself. And sometimes wondering if it's worth it if your corporate life or the life, industry taught you to lead is suffering. Because what if that's supposed to be your only life? And you weren't supposed to be creative at all, which is not true. I know I made it heavy.
Yeah, there's...
But I think this is real. I think it's real. And I think that's more important, honestly.
I think the next logical step in the process of feeling is, what do you do about that?
I don't think...
How do you get your self-worth from the things that you do outside of your job? What drives you to wake up on a Saturday when you don't have work and go, okay, it's time to do this or it's time to do that? Right?
I think it's less about doing and more about saying the act of creation itself is enough.
And because I'm trying to think about things myself too. For all the listeners, I have ADHD like a motherfucker. I have ADHD. So a lot of that has been. I mean, we both do. I just feel like mine's a little more severe in some spots. But I can relate to that because, so many times I get in my own head about, like, are you okay? Here, pause.
I think it can just get really hard when you start thinking about things like that. Because it's not your own voice you hear. It's the voice of everyone ever who's ever told you that you weren't going to make it. You're not good enough to make it. You're not good enough to be seen. We don't want to see you. You don't belong with us.
Now I have a question for you, and I don't think I'm probably not going to put this on the podcast, but every time I put you in front of a microphone, this exact subject comes up. This exact subject, every single time I put you in front of an open microphone, this is the exact, unscripted, mind you, because you did this exact same tangent in the first episode.
Did I?
You did. And every time we try to go in unscripted, this is what comes out. So when I ask, what unresolved issues do you have? And you say none.
Well, maybe we're just supposed to talk it out like this then.
Maybe you're supposed to talk it out like this.
Maybe I'm supposed to talk it out like this. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Well, going back to what I was saying, because I have real severe ADHD, one of the things that really helped me get out of my head with my anxieties, and hopefully someone will hear this and go, aha, that's exactly how my brain works too. And if not, it is what it is. But so much of a stressor for me was but sort of finding self-worth in doing menial jobs and working, because so many times would my brain just be so chaotic trying to balance what I'm doing here with what I'm trying to do there with what I'm trying to do, somewhere else, that going 110% at a job and getting the pat on the back and having someone go like, hey, we see you executed well, that always scratched an itch for me with my ADHD, because hearing that made me go, okay, I'm doing something right. I'm doing
Yeah.
something correct. My brain operations are, even though they're hectic and insane, they are getting me where I perceivably need to go. And getting out of that corporate environment and being away from the cubicle office jobs like I have so much the last year has really led me to understand better that, like you were saying, that's not the case. You have to find that within yourself and not not putting something behind you that is
Mm.
constantly running you towards an end goal helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
Because my thing with jobs too, and what drove me to get those pats on the back, was the constant fear of being fired. And that
Right.
stemming from my social anxiety and being amplified by the ADHD, I was constantly on edge about, if I don't do this in the next 5 minutes, they're going to hand me a 2 week and they're going to kick my ass out. Right?
Right.
And for the longest time, that's what drove me, and I didn't realize it. Right?
It's the fear of failing.
It was the fear of failing that drove me to achieve as much as I did in the corporate workplace. And it wasn't until stepping out in that environment for a while and realizing that there never really was a giant monster chasing me. It
No.
was just me running full sprint through a dark tunnel.
Right.
And that's not to say you can't have a corporate job and like it. You absolutely can. I'm not saying everyone needs to be a creative and we all need to start our own
Yeah.
podcasts and go do photography. Absolutely not. If you're happy with your 9 to 5, be happy with your 9 to 5. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with doing what you want to do. It's just for some people, it's a little less traditional.
Right.
Like you and I, where we're trying to step into a space that's more for ideas versus for work ethic.
Right. And I feel like because it's the non-traditional way, there is no scratch on the back moment where you know you've done the right thing. And that's what makes it so hard.
See, I don't think that's true though.
It
I think what changes between the two is you don't have anyone to give you a scratch on the back. You just kind of have to scratch your own back. You kind of have to look back at what you've created sometimes and go, holy shit, that's really fucking cool. Even if it's, nothing, even if it's something that's not even going to see the light of day. Like, I take pictures all the time that I would never post
I have
online.
stories like that too.
Exactly. I do things all the time that I would never post that no one's ever going to see, but I just kind of look at it and go, holy fucking shit, that is really neat. I'm really happy I did that.
Yeah, but it's those moments where you can't do it for yourself because you know me and I say things like that all the time, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I made this. This is so cool. I didn't even realize it. But you can't do it for yourself all the time. You get tired. So when you feel like your work's just kind of going out into the ether and not resulting, it's kind of like it might be a moment, like a millisecond of doubt versus the mountain of doubt that I used to have in the past. But it's still a moment where I go, is following my heart the right thing? And it's a rhetorical question. It's not one that I ever intend on answering seriously and saying, no, it's not worth it, because that's not true. I've lived better these last few months just doing things that move me than I have my entire life, and I found me that way. But it's hard to do it for yourself all the time, especially when you're not feeling physical success for it here in this world.
With my anxiety too, and I can relate to that, I would always, even if things were going my way, in the back of my head, these people don't really love you. They don't really care about what you're doing. Who cares about what you're doing? You look like a fucking idiot caring about that shit. If the question isn't there to ask, then those little voices don't respond.
Of course, it makes little to no sense. to ask yourself things. But when you feel like you can't afford to put food on the table, when you feel yourself slipping into lack, you're going to ask yourself if your choices have been correct up until this point. And it is within me to know that I can ask myself that and get low so that I can know what my high is really like. It doesn't matter why. Maybe you didn't feel supported enough as a child. Maybe you didn't get this. Maybe you didn't get that. It doesn't matter why. But it's hard not to feel like you're failing all the time and trying to get away from that failure when you feel stuck in it. So it's not all the time that moments like this arise anymore. It used to be. It used to be like a constant cycle of suffering and fear for me because I was fearing losing our house, losing everything we worked so hard for. And once in a blue moon, I feel that way. It doesn't go away. But it's hard not to beat myself up for feeling that way. And allowing myself to have that moment to feel it, but know that it's not true.
Can I recommend something?
What?
Because I think this might actually help you. Because it sounds like what I was just saying, being that you're not checking up on this thought, it's checking up on you. Right? This invisible monster that catches up to you isn't actually there. It comes and it haunts you and you fear it to some capacity. Even though it's true, not true, doesn't matter. You fear it to some capacity. So turn around and make it fear you. Don't let yourself get to the point where this thought comes back to you and it haunts you, regardless how occasionally it is. Every once in a while, make yourself feel the opposite of what that emotion is. Right? Remind yourself that yes, these things have happened, these things might happen, these things, whatever. But then tell yourself the opposite, which is the truth, right? Don't let these things catch up to you and blow your back tire, right? Big old spin out, blow up your life type shit. Catch it before it catches you. The reason it comes slower and slower is because you're outpacing it. Right? So start hunting that fear with the same ferocity. I think I mixed velocity with ferocity.
I think veracity is a word.
I think it is too.
Wait, how did you use it again?
Veracity.
Yeah, but how'd you use it?
With the same veracity.
No, I think you meant ferocity.
Ferocity? I'll only leave this in
Ferocity. Ferocity is a word that means to consume something with a ravenous spirit.
Yes,
so
I used that correctly.
Correct.
I knew veracity was a word. Yeah.
Oh, no. And Google says, for example, eating wings and hot sauce with veracity.
So chase that fear down with the same veracity that you chase everything else down. Make your fear fear you. Exactly. Exactly.
We're in the jungle.
Exactly.
Let's get 'em, boys.
And going back to it, it's so funny how what I said earlier stayed so relevant through this whole conversation. Yeah, no, if you just turn around and recognize that the thing you feared was never to be feared in the first place, and you internalize that fear is scared of you, it's not going to show up anymore. There is no balancing act. There is no I have to remind myself this, that, and the other thing, because it doesn't come up. Why even let it come up if it causes even the smallest of problems? It doesn't matter how often it comes up. If it's a problem, it's a problem. Stomp that shit out where it starts.
Stomp it. Can you stomp it for me, baby?
Nah, you gotta stomp it yourself, big dog.
Tired.
Sorry, you gotta stomp it yourself.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at that point in like my spiritual journey where I'm turning over pebbles and finding things. You know what I mean? Like all the big rocks, all the heavy moving and things are done. And now I'm just going like, oh, there's this one little ant crawling around still.
Spiritual journey or not, I'm getting high as fuck. 420 blaze it. What day is it? I think we're 16th today, so we're still 4 days
it's 4
off.
days to our anniversary. It's our anniversary.
Unironically, we started dating and got married on 420.
Who asked who?
Oh, I love telling this story.
Yes.
Whenever anyone asks, I love telling this story. So, when we were in high school, because we were best friends for basically the entirety of high school, and it got to the point in junior year where you were flirting with me real heavy, but I was a stupid guy. I don't understand what I thought flirting was the giggling in the corner, twirling your hair, early 2000s comedy movie type shit. That's what I thought flirting was. So it got to the point in junior year where we would write letters back and forth to each other, right? And so we're hanging out one day, Friday before it was just a regular weekend. I think there's no long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, regular weekend. And you give me this letter, and I think I think you were about to get on the bus or something to go home. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gave me a letter, and I was like, okay, yeah. You were like, read it as soon as you get home. And I just thought it was just, a regular letter that I was going to write a letter back to. So I put that shit in my backpack, called it a day on the weekend, and you text me. You text me panicked, or you called me panicked on Sunday, and Sunday night before the week started again. It was like 6:37 that night, and you go, "Hey, how are you doing? How's your weekend been?" And I was like, "Good, yeah." And you were like, "Do you have anything to say?" I'm like, "No. Should I have anything to say?" And I'll never forget. The line went silent for a second, and you went, "Did you read my letter?" You go, "Did you read my letter?" And I had you on speakerphone, and I was playing Call of Duty with my buddies, and I went, nah, should I have?
God. Boys! Fucking boys!
Yeah, I went, no, should I have? And you went, yes, please go read the letter right now. It was like, right this instant, yes. So I went and I read the letter, and it was you asking me to date you, and I was like, oh, then yes, I do have a response to said letter, yeah. But the whole story goes, it was really funny because you gave me the letter on 4/18.
Yes.
And if I had read it that day, we would have started dating on 4/18. But because I'm a stupid guy and I decided to leave this letter of urgency unread until literally the day before I needed to have a response for the letter, which, do the math, 2 days later is 420. Yeah, that's how we started dating on 420. And then same thing when we went to get married, because it was during the pandemic, and we did just a courthouse wedding. We're not big money people. If you couldn't tell by the context of this episode, we're not big money people. So we were just going to do a courthouse wedding, and because of the pandemic, because of lockdown and everything, they were still doing the wedding ceremonies. They just had very, very limited days and very limited times that they would operate the procedures during. So we were going through...
and that's another reason why we did the courthouse wedding, too, because we didn't want to wait anymore. COVID was taken,
A lot of the places were closed out. Even if we did want to do a traditional, reception wedding, no one was doing it. Yeah. So, and we were under the impression that we were going to get married sometime in, late fall, I think, right? Is when we said we wanted to do the fall. Mm-hmm. And I had proposed to you the year before, so we were engaged. and lockdown was still going on, and we were like, okay, well, we can't do anything right now because it's the end of the year. We'll just wait to see if the lockdown lifts in the next couple months and make our decision based on that.
Yeah.
And turn of the year, lockdown is still locked down, and we're still locked down. So we decided to just do a courthouse and call it a day. So at least we could, actually get married, have something on paper. So we're going through the dates, and of course, because they only did like 2 or 3 times for ceremonies, per available day, which wasn't all the time either. They were booked out for I think our courthouse was booked out like a month and a half or something. So we go to schedule, and it's right after the turn of year. I think it was like right after your birthday, like tail end of February. And the first available date to get married was also 4/20.
Yeah.
It was that April 20th, about a month and a half later, was the very first available opening that they had for ceremony, and there was only like 2, or I think ours was the only one they were running that day, and there was only
there was
2 they were doing.
And one was later than ours.
Exactly. Yeah. So we looked at that and we just kind of went, well,
I
guess we're stuck with it. Yep, that's the date.
And that's why my anniversary is Hitler's birthday.
Yep, yeah, I know, right?
That's why we celebrate. It was perfect.
Yeah, I was going to say, mind you, too, at this point, neither of us had smoked weed in any capacity.
No.
Yeah. We didn't start smoking weed until
after our first anniversary.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, of course.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
No, I don't smoke. Smoking's bad for your lungs. Don't smoke, kids. It's really bad. Anyway. Yeah. No, I love
Stay in school.
No, seriously, stay in school. Even if, listen, I was an aspiring teacher. I understand how stupid the curriculum is nowadays. Stay in school. Seriously. Knowledge is power, and the more knowledge you accrue, the better. Do not drop out. Don't let anyone make you think that school, even if you are, your school is the absolute worst, nothing's getting done, you don't think you're learning anything, you'll learn something, be it how to interact with people, move through different situations in life, so on and so forth that way. And if you really, really, really want to acquire knowledge like that, start doing your own research, digging into things, start reading books,
I was going to say that.
Go to Barnes and Noble, start buying your own, history books or, your own nonfiction that way.
Yeah. Like me, I was not getting what I needed academically from school, so I started pursuing all that knowledge on my own. And there are so many resources out there to teach you and give you free courses and things, like Harvard, they do edX. You could do language and history classes online for free. So if you feel like school, isn't giving you what you actually need, then there are programs like that you can fill your time with and make it a little harder and more challenging for yourself. Definitely. But school is supposed to give us that structure that we need to interact with people. And it's less about what you're taking home academically, although they try very hard to manipulate what you learn at school. You should be open to all these subjects. I mean, everyone should have access to all these subjects. That's why banning books and things like that are so silly, because it's what do you mean you don't? I mean, it's just knowledge. It's just knowledge. And it's irrational to try to keep it from people in order to protect them from the evils of the world. Why would you do that? You should teach our younger generations our history so that they know exactly why these things were so despicable. You have kids not learning about Anne Frank and then questioning why the Holocaust was that bad. Well, you didn't tell them about the actual emotional traumas that existed within these devious things that wartime brings.
Let me amend that statement, too, in being that questioning whether or not the Holocaust even happened.
Yeah. And that's just downright
disrespectful.
Ridiculous, disrespectful. It's unbelievable.
It happened. A lot of people died. millions and millions and millions of families lost
Just
or
absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
Destroyed. And like I remember when they were talking about amending the way slavery is mentioned in books as well, more like indentured servitude, or they got house. And let's just be honest about our history, because it's like talking about the highs and lows of the emotional spirit, right? I have to be able to remind myself of what low feels like so I can appreciate being in the light and feeling good about myself and being at that high. If we want to strive as a society, we need to stop turning a blind eye to our low points and start trying to figure out not how to avoid them, but what leads us to those points. So like you said, we can chase it down, turn the tables on it, and make it into something better for ourselves. Because we're never going to win if we keep trying to erase where we've lost. If we're making a history for ourselves that only includes our wins, we're not telling our full story.
If you have one win and 50 losses, but you only talk about the one win, people are going to wonder why you suck.
Right.
If you won, why'd you suck?
I had to lose 49 times to get to this point. I had to
you still have
lose.
growth.
Right. I had to lose so that I could see what was actually requiring my attention to win. Because I'm chasing down all these things that might not mean anything at all.
I played card games a lot. Even recently, I played card games a lot. I still kind of do. I play, it's not...
Oh, you play solitaire?
I play solitaire. I play blackjack. I play
I
poker.
play blackjack.
No, yeah, to emphasize, more like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, stuff like that.
Nerd shit.
Nerd. Yeah, none of this gambling stuff. The only thing I'm gambling is...
I lose like a man.
Yeah, I lose like a man. Yeah, I spend all my money up front. That's how I gamble. I don't know what the box holds in store for me. All I know is I'm not getting that $100 back. See 40 at the most.
Jake, it used to piss me off so bad when you buy these damn boxes and then you get mad because you didn't get nothing in it. I'd want to beat you over the fucking head.
Well, to add to, I didn't spend money on those boxes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. No, I would trade up to them. Like 90% of the stuff I got, I traded up to because of all my old Pokemon cards.
Mm.
Podcast listeners, if you have old Pokemon cards or you think you have old Pokemon cards, dude, find them. If you didn't already, if you didn't sell them during the spike,
yeah,
find them,
bro,
sell them.
You had gold in your childhood house.
Gold! Dude, even like the stupid little energy cards. Like, I have an energy card that I just sold for $70. It's like, seriously, if you have any kind of like old collectible card games sitting around anywhere, do a little bit of research on like eBay or TCG Player. Figure out what those things are worth, man. I guarantee you've got some money sitting around. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's kind of like a card game like that though, and being that like if you going back to if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, like, you know. Like you have to look at where you failed. You have to look at where the holes in your strategy are, and then instead of going back through and redoing it with revamped holes, just, you know what I'm trying to say? Letting
it go and trying to use the knowledge that you built from all of those attempts to just help you as you go along. Stop trying so hard. We just did that because Battlefront, they just did that released, revamped old PS2 game, Battlefront. And we were on a particular level, and oh my god, we were so stuck. We just couldn't figure out. We weren't getting what we needed from it. So we were doing it, but it just wasn't working. We kept re-strategizing, and we were like, okay, we came up with a plan that made the most sense to us. And for a time, it was working. We were getting closer, but it still wasn't happening for us. But once we let go and just said, we're going to do what we can based off of a partial plan that we created, because it helped us focus our energy, right? Once we let go and just went, I'm going to do what's needed of me right now and try to utilize that information, we were able to succeed and pass it. And we kicked those Jedi asses.
Execute Order 66.
Execute. It was very sad, actually. It was the temple. It was very sad.
Sad for
But
you.
we won.
I took Jedi heads, bro. I was killing them
No,
left.
we did.
No, I was hunting them, bro. Ain't no Jedi safe around me,
and,
dog.
Your girl got Anakin, which was sad. It was sad, but still. It was cool.
Nah. You gotta get those Padawans, bro. The younglings. One of the children.
Younglings, Anakin.
No. Anakin sitting over there fucking cracking poses and shit.
Do what I want. You know what else I love hating Christensen in?
No.
Yes,
I'm not going down this rabbit hole. We're not talking about Little Italy.
I love that movie, Little Italy. Yes, with one of the millions of Hollywood Emmas. Which one is it?
I don't know.
Emma, God, Robinson?
Maybe.
Robertson? I think so. But I love Hayden Christensen in that. He looks great.
I was kind of hoping they would cast Hayden Christensen as the voice of Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, but Keanu's doing it.
Keanu is doing it.
Does he have a good voice for Shadow?
Keanu can get nitty gritty.
No. Hayden.
No, absolutely not.
Why were you hoping that they would cast him?
Because
then?
he gives me Shadow energy. I was honest to God just about to say that. I know he doesn't have the voice for Shadow the Hedgehog, but he just looks like the kind of guy who would play Shadow the Hedgehog, you know?
He looks like he has a bunch of, band posters in his room.
Or
he wears a lot of black with, hoods. Yeah. He gives me angst. He gives me straight teenage angst. And now that he's an adult, he gives me adult angst.
I was going to say, it's like a refined adult angst.
It is a refined adult. That's the perfect description of it. Perfect. And I'm for it. That's why it works for me so well in Little Italy. He seems like he's a little tortured. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Keanu, I think that was just today, wasn't it? Keanu got confirmed for Shadow in the new Sonic movie coming out.
Maybe. I heard it from you today.
Yeah, well, if you heard it from me today, then it's gotta be true.
I don't think there's... Keanu.
What did I say the other day? Bird screamatorium, burn 'em and earn 'em. How can I help you? Yeah. Hey, Bert. It's Jimmy. Can't make it into work. Out of gas. Got a gas deficiency. I'll cut that. That's not staying in.
I think purely because it would embarrass you, it should stay in.
That's not fair. I'm a little high. You can't do that to me. Allegedly.
Oh, gosh. I think this episode...
For the kids listening, never admit guilt. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Never admit guilt.
Tips for criminal activity. Get off that microphone.
We were talking... I was talking with my brother a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about, his friend did X, Y, and Z, and blah blah blah, and it was some illegal activities he was talking about, and I was like, allegedly, and he was like, no, he did them. I was like, no, allegedly.
I have a question.
He looked me dead in the eye. He went, no, he there's video proof he did them. Never admit guilt. It don't matter what kind of evidence there is. Never admit guilt. OJ had it right. Take it to the grave.
No, that's gotta come out. No, that's gotta come out.
No! He made his family sign NDAs before he passed. Ain't nothing happening. People talking about it. Who cares?
We're definitely taking that out.
He did that shit.
What's LeVar Burton up to? Reading Rainbow.
LeVar Burton?
Is he dead?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Let's figure out. Hold on. Before I start talking, we talk about one dead guy.
Jackie. You make me absolutely fucking sick.
LeVar Burton is very gratefully not dead.
Oh, good.
Yep, he
A
is.
reading rainbow. I know Steve is bald now, but what's he doing? Blues?
Yeah, isn't he a musician?
Is he a musician?
Yeah, I thought he was a musician, and that's what he's
Is
doing.
he a wiggle now? I feel like that's the natural progression.
Did you see Yo Gabba Gabba did Coachella?
Shut
Yeah, Yo
up.
Gabba Gabba did Coachella, dude. Someone brought him out.
What's going on? Out in the damn desert.
Out in the desert, bro.
We saw Tyler's performance for Coachella, though.
That was pretty baller. That was a great
so
performance,
good.
man.
Yes.
A lot of people are talking about it online, too. If you were a Tyler fan, man, that was a great performance.
It was a great
He covered pretty much anything you would want him to cover.
Finally brought out Callie for See You Again Like I Wanted.
That poor lady.
I know, she's tired. She's a young mom.
Bringing that new mother out at fucking 1 in the morning.
That poor lady. If you don't let her go to bed.
I know, she's tired.
She's tired.
Cut her some slack. Yeah.
Childish Gambino was there. That was great. That was the highlight of it for me. Because I love him musically. Love him.
I'm not a huge fan of A$AP Rocky, not like as a person, but I just don't really fuck with his music, and nothing against it, absolutely nothing against it.
It's just not my cup.
It's just not my cup.
I'm sure you agree.
Yeah. That being said, when he came out with Tyler and they did those couple songs together, whoo man, that was heat. That was hype. Yeah, that was a good time.
We saw him live too.
Back in
Tyler.
2019.
No, I think that was 2021.
21? Oh, because yes,
22.
no, it was 21 because it was right around that time that they kind of lifted the pocket of regulations.
I think maybe you're
right before we went right back into full lockdown. It was that first little pickup there, I think.
Yeah, we saw his tour with
Tizo
Callie and
Touchdown, Vince Staples, and Callie.
Oh, and shout out to Vince Staples, man. The Vince Staples show. Ramona Park. Yes. That album that he did, wonderful. He's doing wonderful things musically, too. Really good. He is that West Coast sound to a T. If you need old school West Coast but new age, Vince Staples has got it for you. Yeah, I really love what he's doing.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty spectacular performance. All the different stage work and everything. That I always like whoever does his lighting because they do a really good job with how they flash the foreground and the background. I don't know if you notice it, but it's something every time we watch him perform, be it like actually live or just a recorded performance that they stream, the way that they strobe light his background. They'll do one light on the foreground objects and they'll alternate between that and a light on the background objects, so it alternates and
the depth
it gives it that additional depth. It's also a little easier on the eyes than like a full screen
just strobing.
Right. It's a little easier to look at, and I think the effect's a little cooler. But
well, then shout out to Tyler Stagehands.
Yeah,
you go.
Yeah, shout out to all stagehands.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to everybody who helps make music happen.
I feel like if we sit here and just pat everyone on the back all day long, it'll take us at least a full podcast. We need to do that. We need to make a podcast episode where it's just us thanking everyone.
Everybody.
Every single person in the industry.
And we should open it up to the Slayers. They should give us people to do gratitude lists for. We could do it at the end of every podcast if we wanted to, or every now and then.
We'll do shout out lists. I'll shout out
lists.
I'll shout out whoever you want me to shout out, bro. You leave a comment on one of our Insta posts and tell me to shout someone out, bro. I'll shout out
Yes.
I'll shout out your baby mama, bro.
Yes! You want us to call somebody out? We should do that.
Yeah, I like that. But if you want me to shout someone out, I'll shout someone out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool. Okay, I'll post that to Slayer then.
Yeah.
So that way people can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you want us to shout someone out, I'll shout someone out.
Yeah.
You watch Fallout?
We did watch Fallout.
That was good.
It was.
It was. You know, it was interesting because if you're not familiar with the Fallout world, there's no context you need from the video games before you go into watching this show. It helps having known the world and played the games previously, but there's no previous context needed before watching this show. You can hop right in and they explain it pretty well.
Yeah, because I tried Fallout 4 several times and I just couldn't go through with it.
Yeah,
but I love Fallout Shelter, the game they had previously on mobile, that now it's on PlayStation. I love doing that on PlayStation now. But aesthetically, Fallout, the show, it was so good. It was perfect. It was exactly what they depicted vaults to look and feel like, and that was the most interesting part of the story. That other stuff, like the Brotherhood stuff, I didn't find that too interesting. I didn't even find them interesting in the games, but...
And we'll talk about this more in another episode, too, because this episode is just kind of like a light talk episode for clarification,
just
people.
A get together.
Yeah, it's just, what we've been watching, what we've been listening to, kind of, like I said, get to know
trauma.
Yeah, get to know us a little bit better,
and
not so much just what books and movies and video games we like playing or listening to or whatever. No, I thought the Fallout show, I thought they did a really, really spectacular job with a lot of what they did put in the show. I think there were a couple storylines that were less than desirable. And I said it because me and my buddies have a group chat because we're all scattered across the country. We're here, there, and everywhere. But I put it up in my buddies' group chat. I was like, man, it definitely watches like a Bethesda project, and it does. So if you're familiar with Bethesda and you're familiar with their dialogue in games, it does not falter into the show. It is Bethesda dialogue through and through. It feels like you're watching someone play a Bethesda game, but the game's like a solid 8 out of 10. So it's not too bad. No, aside from that, I really did enjoy the show though, start to finish as a season 1, and like I said, we'll get into more final thoughts when we talk about it on a later episode. But yeah, I thought it was good. Go check it out. Go watch it. Give it a spin. Give it a view.
Yeah. So if you had to say one final thing before the end of this episode, what would it be?
One final thing before the end of this episode. I was going to make an eclipse joke, but the eclipse already came and gone. Man, I was going to say, don't forget to stare directly at the sun. Make sure you don't miss the eclipse.
That disability check.
Yeah, get that disability check. Yeah, no. Don't stare at the sun, people. Don't stare at the sun. Yeah, I think I'll stick with that. Yeah. Yeah, what about you? Any final thoughts before wrapping it up, aside from don't stare at the sun?
I think I would like to quote The Outsiders. Let's say, stay golden, Porky Boy. Stay golden.
Alright. I like it.
Yeah, I too like my literature with subtle hints of racism and poverty shaming.
I like it. It's good. Yeah, I can sign us out. I feel like I'm a little more high energy than you are today.
So
you're kind of on a lull.
I passed the baton.
You passed the baton. I don't want a baton. I want a trophy, bro. Come on.
I'm your trophy.
You are. So get over here. All right, Slayers. Well, that's about it for this episode. Catch us on Instagram. I'm at Film Guru Jake. I swear to God, I'll start posting more stuff. The last 2 weeks have been a little crazy for me. So I swear I'll start posting stuff the next few days. But
And you can follow me at Author Irian, and also at Empress Fiction House, which is our little fantasy corner of the projects we're working on right now.
we have a lot if you didn't already know.
A lot. And we just released Nightshade on Kindle.
Go
Snaps
check
to
that
us.
out. Link in the bio.
And also Astra Theta, which is our fancy space noir with lots of art and imagery for the science fiction nerds out there. We just released that on paperback too, so check it out.
And where can you find that?
SlayerPublishing.com.
Say it for the back.
I'm imagining Meryl Streep when I do this.
Yeah.
SlayerPublishing.com.
Where you can find that and many more little goodies.
That sounded ominous.
Ominous? I can retake it.
But also
Where you
like
can,
flirtatious?
yeah.
Am I afraid or am I being flirted with?
I think that's the line you kind of want to write, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think so. Let's get out. All right, we're out of here.
Yeah, stay in school. Don't smoke. Stay in school. Don't look at the sun.
Wash your underwear.
Wash your ass. You hear? I know there's someone out here who's staying out washing their ass. Y'all better wash your ass. That's a PSA. You not washing your ass, you better wash your ass, bro. That's what I got. Wash your ass.
Wash your stinky ass. And go to our website and add something to the shout out list.
Yeah, comment on my Instagram, comment on our Instagram if you want a shout out. And wash your stinky ass. Stay in school, kids.
Stay in school. Bye.